Butterscotch biscuits. Keep your fluffy slippers on for this one. Today we're going to explore why the PulseX price is down so much from day one sacrifice. Why is it down 93% from the top? Why is it down 90% from the day one sacrifice? The short answer is that it's because people who sacrificed for PulseX, when it's at day one sacrifice price, they are effectively at 50 cent hex combined. Now, I'm here to explain it for you slowly because this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to learn, to grow, to remain friendly. And please, this is not FUD. This is not bad news or anything. I'm here to explain. Effectively, what have I taught you, friends? This is, if this was anybody else, I would be saying, okay, I see red candles. Let me give you an explanation. That's actually what I'm doing. I'm doing hindsight, but I'm here telling you. Just like how when candles go green, everyone says, oh, wow, this is the fourth dimensional physics equation to make everything go up. No, it's not. It's just a bunch of green candles. So I'm seeing red candles go down and I'm sharing with you the information that you need to know for the future because this has never been done before. It really had never been done before. That's why there was such a good chance that it was going to work. So let me explain. This is a harsh reality to deal with, but also when life gets tough, we get tougher. The harsh reality is when PulseX is at day one sac, its effective price for hex is 50 cents. Let me take you back to what was happening around there. When everybody sacrificed, all right, when people sacrificed for PulseX, it was around here. Let's just do an average price of 25 cents. When they did, they got a volume bonus multiplier. No expectations. Maybe they would have got nothing. We had no idea what was coming. But their price is not actually here. Their effective price, because they got a 2x multiplier, it's actually 2.5x. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to summarize the top 100 wallets as an average price. And I'm just going to say, okay, out of the biggest wallets, their average SAC gets a 2x multiplier. And if you want, you can just go to pulsexlead.com and see it yourself. So this is the person who put in $4 million. They still have a 2.15 multiplier, you can see. So everybody who basically put in around 1.1 million or higher. I mean, like the multipliers are still huge, even for $1 million. You got 1.94 multiplier. So think about this. Every single person who put $1 million worth of hex, when PulseX is day one sacrifice, they are at 50 cents. So let's go back in time. So hex was here done at 25 cents for PulseX. When it's at day one sacrifice, because they get 2 extra coins, it's at 50 cents. So now we see why whenever we got back to that day one sacrifice, everybody thought it was just the beginning. No, it was actually, I know this is going to sound crazy, but we actually opened that fair value. Everybody said that it was low liquidity and we're wrong, etc. I know, friends, a lot of people accused me of like negative FUD and stuff during this time. I was like, bro, like, you can't blame low liquidity as the reason why the price didn't come. And look, I was right. You see, we came back exactly to this exact point. That just shares with you where it was destined to go from the start. So this whole rush up, now I know you didn't think about it like this, but this whole rush upwards was effectively, see where it launched here? This was hex 5 cents for the big whales. And then up here was hex 50 cents. So 50 cents up here and then 5 cents here. That's what it is. So if you go back and look down now, they are still at 5 cents. So if you're wondering, why do people sell PulseX down here? Now you know why. Because combined hex, this is the hex combined channel. Shout out to Mr. Dipcatcher. Combined hex is 1.2 cents. So I know in our long-term mindset thinking, we believe that hex is cheap. All right. But when you're a soy drinker weak hand pencil neck with flaily arms and rounded elbows, you don't think hex is cheap. In their mindset, they think PulseX and Pulse is expensive. That's how they're thinking because they're in a mindset to sell. Now, what went wrong here? Look, I don't even want to use the word wrong. It was an experiment. You can't say, well, it went wrong. It's never been done before. We tried something new. And if we were to go back in time and speak to Ricardo Corazon himself and quackity quack, he probably would have said this to me. So I'm here to tell you. So let's pretend you are a mid-curver and you go back in time and you say to him, hey, Ricardo, corazon, here you are. And he's like, what are you doing here? How'd you travel back in time? And you say, hello, sir. You say, the SEC's after you, by the way, run away. No, I'm joking. Okay. You would say to him, hey, man, what's your plan for PulseChain and PulseX? And he says, well, no expectations, but because you're inside my brain, what I want everybody to do is, because I have helped make a valuable asset, which is the community, not a product, the community gave this thing value, and the hex price went up to a total valuation up here, which is enormous, okay? Because it's up here, now I want people to sacrifice it so that it holds their value. Now, some people in the community, friends, they will use the word exit liquidity, and you can use that word. You can say, well, they were exit liquidity because they couldn't dump. But I've shown you evidence and like real data. If people wanted to sell their millions of dollars up here, they could have. There was no excuse, bro. There was $25 million of USDC up here. Okay? So, in this PulseX lead, look at all these people. This guy had a million. All these people had a million. This person had million. Look at all these people, 2.5 million. There was plenty of liquidity to sell. It was only this big giant whale with 48 million who couldn't get out. But everybody else could sell. There's plenty of time. If you really wanted to sell, you could have. Now, I'm glad we have this data. Shout out to that gentleman who's done all the data. I've got your name. But it's fantastic to see that there was no excuse. So, luckily, we have this information. You won't actually exit liquidity. It's a term we use because we saw the price go down. We go, well, price went down. You were exit liquidity in hindsight. Well, you're always exit liquidity for someone, friends. Like your parents gave birth to you. Like, me and you, we pay taxes for the older generation to retire. We're actually their exit liquidity. You ever think about that? We are the greater full Ponzi. We need to keep working to pay into the taxpayer system to help everybody retire. And then our children are going to be our exit liquidity. If you are a child, welcome to you. Have a seat over there. You see what I mean? That's life, friends. That's life. So we're not really exit liquidity. It's the nature of cycles. So with Ricardo Corazon himself, you have Hex, for example, okay? So he made Hex, and it's very valuable, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to put a nice little gem emoji to signify its value. So we have this gem here, okay? You go, okay, great. You have millions of dollars here. And what he said is, he goes, well, maybe, if you're lucky, if you put it somewhere, you might get, maybe you might get sacrifice points for your points, your coins here. So you have $1 million. Now, here's the nature of markets. Don't think about one individual person. Think about all these whales that sacrificed as one collective person. It's like, let's add everybody in the ecosystem, friends. If we check up how much was sacrificed, it's $1 billion. And if you want to see how much Hex was sacrificed, it's here, $557 million. So because there was about 25 to 50 million of potential money you could sell in the USDC pool, there's about 10 to 20 times more money out there that could not sell. But look, on the surface, you're going to think scam. But guess what? This is the same in Bitcoin, in Ethereum, in everything, friends. I promise you. In Bitcoin, Ethereum, it's the same thing. Their liquidity, the bids, are only like 2 to 3% of their total market cap. So with Bitcoin, there's 21,000 coins, right? 21 million coins. Yeah. If you wanted to sell 1 million coins, that's 4.7% of the total market cap. You literally send Bitcoin to zero. There's not enough liquidity. I'm not joking. You can actually click it down to zero. So every market is out here like this. Same with Apple, Amazon, and everything else. If you wanted to instantly sell. So this experiment, that's what happens, right? So you end up getting these sacrifice points and you say, well, we can't exit all of it. Let's see what happens with this new potential no expectation sacrifice thing. So then these whales, right, whoever they may be, some of them real people, some of them might be a duck himself. I hope a lot of them are, by the way. I really do hope a lot of them are. And I think a lot of them are, because that will be very bullish for us. Because that dude ain't click and sell, right? We have higher probability he won't. So we've all sacrificed at this top point here. And then we get the launch. And because of the bonus, at day one sacrifice for PulseX, you actually have a 50-cent hex price. So you didn't actually get, so even though we all put in at 25 cents, because they got 2x multiplier, they get a 50-cent hex. So effectively, yeah, we actually did a 10x run. We opened at fair value, which no one was like, what do you mean fair value, bro? We're like, we sacrificed and we waited and we skipped the bear market and look what happened. But this is where the rubber meets the road. You see markets, friends? I'm going to ask you something, all right? Go back, can you please just straighten your back and go back in time with me? We're going to speak to Ricardo Corazon himself and we'll pretend we're a mid-curver and say, I don't think your experiment is going to work because markets are still going to sell it. I believe he would have given us a very good reason why. He would have shown other examples in the real world why it would have worked. And because you have this gem here, this is another interesting thought experiment, right? So I'm here to defend him and basically say, well, why give PulseChain and PulseX sacrifice points? Why not houses like this? So what's the difference? Think about it. Think about it. If you had, remember all this money, remember the $1 billion here? Instead of the $1 billion collective mindset of everybody, how about we gave out 1,000 $1 million mansions, okay? 1,000 $1 million mansions out there and everyone owns it. And pretend that person is like it's one entity. Would they, in 2 years from the sacrifice, so remember from July to December 2021, 2 years later, we launched PulseChain. Would they sell their mansion below the $1 million cost price? I believe Ricardo and everybody else would have said no. No, they wouldn't. Why would you sell a mansion for less than $1 million when you put in your diamond to buy it? You paid $1 million for it. There's no way you're going to sell it below cost price. You're not going to sell it down 90%. But this is where you're actually going to learn the truth, friends. The truth is that markets and people's perception of value really does get dictated by cycles. You see, you can ignore the price, and so can I. All that matters was the red flag, the yellow flag here, which was Euphoria. That was the actual critical issue here, Euphoria. We sacrificed with other people in a state of euphoria. This was the complacency rally. This was the Euphoria burst from the Wall Street cheat sheet. You can see it right here, can't you? You can see right there. So, you know, this was PulseChain Sacrifice right here. This was PulseX Sacrifice. So we were basically in the friendship zone, which was an exit zone, okay? You're meant to exit around here, not buy. I know. It's hard to realize, like, to see the truth, but look what ends up happening. We crash back down here. We had a disbelief rally, and then unfortunately we're down here now. So I hope this makes a lot of sense now when you look at it like that. It doesn't actually matter how much money was raised. It doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter. Nothing matters. The narratives. It doesn't even matter what you were sacrificing for. That's what I'm telling you. It didn't even matter that it was a PulseChain and PulseX sacrifice. All that mattered was people had their pants down and partied. They were partying in the pool. They had glitter. Who's that girl inside? Who invited her? Right? Nobody's stopped drinking for 3 days. Illicit substances everywhere. Who invited the very little person as a stripper? All these crazy disco balls are going around. That's what was going on, friends. I have to paint the picture for you. Those are warning signs. Now, I know it's very hard because we're like, what do you mean warning signs? We're having so much fun. We finally won. That's what's going through everyone's mind. And that's why precisely, Habibi Albi, I'm telling you, when Bitcoin finally gets the Roca Negra ETF, people are going to go through the same thing. They're going to go, what do you mean? Then, by the way, no one's going to say, what do you mean the party's over? They're going to put a pitchfork, a plastic fork to my throat and say, if you dare tell me that Bitcoin is topping out before 100K, I'm going to stab you with this plastic fork. That's what they're going to be telling me. I'm going to say, excuse me, sir, put down that plastic fork. I'm going to eat a burger. And by the way, we are eating burgers today, friends. So that's what's going to happen. Do you see how tough it is? That's why, you like, subscribe, press the bell button, or because I'm contrarian. I don't have any leverage trading links. I don't have any ICO pump and dumps. I tell you, I buy in the depression, I sell in the euphoria. If you see everything as a game, you're going to make it. So now it makes sense, doesn't it, friends? Now it makes sense to see this. What's also fascinating in my example, if we went back in time, we had a time machine, we spoke to Ricardo Corazon, how logical does it sound? He would have said, hey man, instead of PulseChain or PulseX Sacrifice points, if I gave you the mansion, you're not going to sell the mansion, right? Wrong. They do sell the mansion. They do liquidate it. I promise you. We learned. What do I gather from this, friends? You're probably going to wonder where's this all leading to. I'll tell you where it's leading to. Have you heard of something called the S&P 500 stock market? Have you heard of the longest running property bubble of all time? People laugh at us in crypto. They laugh at us, okay? They look down on us. And they basically call us poopy McPoop heads, okay? They say, oh, look at you. You're so poor. Oh, what's your little plate here? Are there illicit substances here? That's what they're laughing at us like this. But what they don't know is that we are special, right? We're, a very special kind of special. But we are early. Crypto people, us, we are the canary in the coal mine. We are the signal. We are the early siren when things get good, when things get bad. So the fact that we have seen this play out in crypto, I promise you, it's going to happen to every other asset class out there, and they're going to have to turn on those money printers. And then we are not going to be sad little peppies. We are going to be chunky peppies in the then they fight you phase, taking on the SEC, the corrupt SEC and the government. Because our candles started growing green and people realize, crypto is universal. Crypto is global. Crypto goes beyond just any one country, one island. Okay? That's the future of where we're going. So yeah, it does suck that the prices go down. Now you know, PulseX, 50 cents. That's actually what day one sacrifice is. One of my friends, shout out to Mr. Stevie, he asked me a good question. And he said, does this mean we never go back to day one sacrifice? Nope. No, it doesn't. Why? It's because I've answered it here, friends. If we go down, by the way, shout out to Mr. Westcott Crypto Disciple, and I think Mr. X Crypt, I forgot his name. Just a shout out to them making great shows out here. So I've told you this before, okay? So what's going on here? Unfortunately, so we didn't give a separate valuation for Pulse, PulseX, and Hex. We didn't. It counted them all as one because it's the same community, the same network, and the funds used were mostly Hex, okay? Mostly Hex, not all of them. It was mostly Hex. Look at this, 242 million of ETH, 109 million USDC. So it's not the end of the world. This is just the Hex part. And yes, how do we know? Like maybe the Hex parts, maybe a duck himself sacrificed some of it. So that's something to think about too. So people are overly bearish about it. But what I'm saying is, it's best to add the whole ecosystem as one. That's why I love charting Pulse, PulseX, PulseChain. We love looking at them. But what I would prefer to do is, and I know it's very controversial, but this is what I do. I go to gopulse.com. Okay, shout out to the gentle lady or gentle sir or gentle skrill who made this website. You go to gopulse.com and I make sure you have excluded the origin address and you add up the market cap for Pulse here, for eHex and pHex combined, and then PulseX. If you add them up, I think that's the valuation we're going to go through. And we don't know what the ratios are going to be. And to me, I don't want to bet on too much of the ratios. They might stay in line for all we know. Okay? Even though we might have some opinions here and there. But at the end of the day, it's a whole ecosystem as one. Because it's the same 150,000 members that have to push it up. So now you've learned something today, friends. Yeah, there's no reason to let this get you down. I've got to finish this how I started it. I am just a peanut brain like you. Let's go. We're little peanut brains, all right? And yes, there are a lot of words said, a lot of emojis used. We threw some peppies out there. But all I've done is I described why the candles went red. I described the red candles. In another parallel universe, the candles would have went green. And I promise you, if the candles went green and stayed green, we would have gone to CoinGecko. We would have brought up Uniswap's volume and PancakeSwap. And then I would have found any statistic to go, okay, the reason why PulseX is going up is because The market understands the buy and burn, coupled with Uniswap's projected cash flow, coupled with Pancake Swap. You see what I mean? I'm just making up BS. All I'm actually doing was just describing the candles going green. All right. Now, at the end of the day, can you impact any of this? No. No, we can't. But we did learn an important lesson for the next bull market. All right. In the next bull market, we have to look around. Are you the only person with pants on? Some of you are going to have your pants off. Right? There's going to be a lot of people without their pants on. Okay. You're going to be inviting some really strange characters into the home, the Airbnb owner. Hopefully they don't come in and see that we're hosting a pool party, okay? So you're going to have to look around with me when Euphoria starts coming. And even though our portfolio is not going to be as high as we want, we're going to have to admit, when Jim Cramer's calling for a $300,000 Bitcoin, you know we've got to think twice. Make sure you like, subscribe, press the bell button on. Don't forget who loves and appreciates you, friends. Catch you in the next one.